Good morning, and thank you for joining us for State of Texas in Depth. Josh Hinkle has the weekend off. This week, we are looking at the crossroads of politics and religion. A historic trip wraps up this morning after his Mass in Philadelphia. Pope Francis will return back to the Vatican City, but his American tour came with many personal moments and major speeches. The Pope's visit this week was religious, but had a deep connection to politics. After his address before Congress, we reached out to several local lawmakers.
I really salute his call that we focus our attention on those most in need, that we attempt to resolve problems without violence, and that we recognize we have a duty to future generations, and for that matter our own, with reference to our polluted planet and the increasing dangers of global warming.
Certainly there are things that people want to pick out of Pope Francis's message that maybe they think helps advance their political agenda. But the fact is, I think he spoke not as a political leader, but as a spiritual leader and somebody admired by people around the world.
The Catholic Church in Texas is taking on several big political issues here, from health care to payday lending. Joining me today is Dr. Jeffrey Patterson, the executive director of the Texas Catholic Conference of Bishops. You know, the group that you represent is talking about when it comes to Medicaid and expanding it here in Texas. Now, we know there is a little issue with the federal government giving money back to hospitals to take care of uninsured patients. Why exactly is the Catholic Church getting involved with these types of issues?
Well, one of the most important issues to the Catholic Church is the dignity of life and the protection of humans. And healthcare is completely and totally a part of that. So we have about 1.3 million Texans, adult Texans, that aren't eligible for Medicaid, and they're not eligible to get insurance through their own company or on their own. And so they're in this gap. They fall in this coverage gap. And so the state has an opportunity to expand Medicaid to cover these Texans and have the federal government pay the entire cost of it. But they've chosen not to. Now, I understand, the church understands that Medicaid expansion, there's some cost to that. But really, when we're talking about individuals who aren't able to get medical care, who aren't able to get health care, it's very important to us that everyone has that opportunity and that chance.
You know, there are several lawmakers, our governor included, who are Catholic, but they say that, you know, it would just be too expensive, just like what you just talked about. So how exactly do you go about trying to convince them that it's something that's needed for the state of Texas?
Well, we're very fortunate to have a leadership, the governor, the lieutenant governor, the Speaker of the House, who have all been very pro-life. But the bishops of Texas recently sent a letter to all the leaders talking about being pro-life. It's not just being pro-birth, but it's also across the entire life spectrum. And I think we have an opportunity to help these Texans at a cost that may be expensive, but if we can find a way to bring a pope to speak before the joint sessions of Congress, clearly we can find a way to reach out and to solve this problem for the people of Texas.
And another big topic that y'all are really diving into has to do with payday lenders. Why is this so important to y'all? And for people at home, explain what exactly a payday lender is.
Well, everyone's probably seen in their neighborhoods or on radio or television these payday lenders that are talking about free cash, easy cash. And of course, you and I both know there's no such thing. But what they're doing is it's basically legalized loan sharking. These organizations come in and take advantage of people who don't have the opportunity to get money that they may need to keep the lights on or pay groceries or get medicine, and then charging them outrageous 600–700% interest and fees on those loans. So a simple $200 loan ends up costing them $2,000 to $3,000. This is important to us for two reasons. One, because it's usury. It's taking advantage of people who are in a vulnerable situation and trying to make money off of them. And the second is because our Catholic charities here in Austin and across the state, the St. Vincent de Paul Society, almost a third of the money that we have for charitable contributions to these people, we find that almost a third of those folks have a payday loan. So the money that we give to keep the lights on, to keep them fed, or to keep them for medicine, now is going into the pockets of a payday lender, and that's not an efficient use of our charitable donations. So both these things, one, to not take advantage of the poor, and two, to make sure that we're being very effective in our charitable contributions are driving this issue.
And so that goes back, do you believe it has to do with being moral when it comes to the payday lenders?
Extremely moral. And really looking out for the best interest of everyone. I mean, if we've heard anything this past week over and over and over again from Pope Francis, is to take care of the poor and the vulnerable in our communities. And that's what the church is doing on both of these issues.
And talking about Pope Francis, I know many people across the country have been so excited about his visit. How do you think this will help when it comes to politics and moving forward on these types of issues?
Well, I hope what it does is it gets people to focus once again about the important issues that face our country and face our communities, and realize that we can't separate religion and politics. We can't separate our morals and our ethics from politics. They're the same thing. And so being able to integrate those things and set those as priorities for us become extremely important. And I think people are listening to that. I think that's what Pope Francis's message has been. And I hope it moves forward. I hope this isn't just a one-time thing.
And I have to ask you, personally, what has it been like to see the Pope here in the United States?
It has been amazing. I mean, it's just been a whirlwind, and it really has, I think, strengthened a lot of people. What we hear from a lot of folks, not just Catholics, but non-Catholics as well, is how this message of mercy and of hope and of strength has really touched their lives and really given them a drive to copy and to reinforce that.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us this morning. We truly appreciate it.
Thank
and have
you
a
for
great
having
day.
me.
Absolutely. Well, you can remember, you can join us every Sunday morning in the 8:30 half hour for our broadcast when it comes to politics. We dive deeper every week, and we'll have more news and weather coming up for you after this look from Chuck Todd on what's coming up on Meet the Press.